welcome again to the Piper Sandler Healthcare Conference. The next 25 minutes or so, we will be speaking with Revance Therapeutics, and we have the senior leadership team, Mark Foley, CEO, and Toby Schilke, CFO. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us. And certainly, lots to talk about. What I wanted to do first is turn it over to Mark to make just a few brief introductory comments, and then we'll dive right into some questions. Mark, why don't you take it away?
Great, thanks, David. Appreciate the opportunity to participate in your conference this year. So as you said, let me just kind of give a couple of high-level comments before we get into the Q&A. So obviously, the news of our CRL came as a disappointment and a surprise, and we completely understand the importance of getting the product approved, and the entire organization is focused on making sure that we get that approved as soon as possible. And I know we'll get into that in more detail, but I do think it's important to kind of look at a little bit of kind of where we've been over the last 2 years. I think in the last 2 years, we've significantly de-risked the neurotoxin and have demonstrated across both aesthetics and therapeutics a very consistent long duration profile with really good safety results. And we've seen that in not only our first phase 3 program for glabellar lines, but also in cervical dystonia, where we successfully wrapped up and completed our first phase 3 program in therapeutics. We also had a great readout in a couple of phase 2 programs in upper facial lines, and then also in upper limb spasticity. And that's laid the foundation and groundwork for a phase 3 program there. We also successfully licensed in the US rights to the Teoxane line of fillers, and just recently completed our first full year of sales. And we're really encouraged by the growth and the trend that we're seeing in that overall business. And we successfully completed the acquisition of our fintech platform, HintMD, last year, and are continuing to evolve and advance that platform as well. As of the end of Q3, we're sitting on $273 million. So we feel like we've got a great setup for going forward to be a formidable competitor in aesthetics and to unlock the therapeutics opportunity as we go forward. So despite the challenge presented by the CRL, we feel like we're adapting successfully and building, a really good lineup of products where we'll be able to compete, much more effectively once we get the neuromodulator approved.
Okay, that's a helpful intro. And what I wanted to do is, in light of the CRL, just walk through, if you can, some specifics on your cost structure decisions. Of something you talked about on your recent 3Q call. So can you talk about some specifics on what you're doing to conserve cash, and also comment on your cash runway?
Sure. I'll maybe hit just a few framing comments and then turn it over to Toby to hit a little bit more of the details. So as you pointed out, we did, talk about, streamlining our focus and tightening our belt, all with the goal of extending the runway to make sure that, we can continue to execute on our primary program. So we went from a longer list of priorities, which was DAXI approval and launch, RHA momentum, continuing to drive adoption of the HintMD or OPUL platform, initiating a number of different efforts in therapeutics from our phase 3 upper limb spasticity trial, filing of our BLA or sBLA for cervical dystonia, combined with ongoing investment in R&D and additional therapeutic clinical programs, and starting the process to expand internationally with our neuromodulator. And, given the news that we had, we said, all right, we now need to sort of streamline and prioritize those, key objectives. And we've put them in sort of 4 buckets. One is getting DAXI approved, continuing to make sure that we invest in the commercial side and drive RHA revenue, continue to get, the OPUL platform in sort of this next generation entrenched in the market, and then preserving financial flexibility with our cash runway. And so, Toby, maybe I turn it over to you in terms of